Okay, so it's 3:30 over here, so we're going to go ahead and kick this started. Thanks everybody for coming and staying again, but I realize that probably the only thing between everyone going to the open bar afterwards is this presentation, so I'm in a real tough spot right now. I'm going to try to do this, yeah? You can hear? Cool. Oh, good. So what we're going to do right here is we're going to talk about a day in the life of a PMO with, an organization that would be using Project Online. So here's the thing, is that there's a lot of different ways that we can go ahead and do this. And some of the aspects that I'm going to be showing are really something that could take, kind of months to do. Sometimes it could take maybe a full year, a year and a half to 2 years to kind of get some of these processes in place, and I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about in a second. But we're going to go through and we're going to fast forward through different. Oh, sorry, that was supposed to be natural. I was supposed to pretend like I'm really engaged right now. What we're going to do is we're going to fast forward to certain key, parts of a life cycle in a PMO, and I'm going to show you how those look like over here in Project Online. So there's a lot of different components in play over here. So just 5 seconds about us, and then I'm going to fly right through these. We are a Microsoft Gold PPM partner, and we can really be seen in 3 different ways. One is the thought leadership. We're always at PMI conferences, presenting on that stage as well. But more specifically is we have this concept of Project Management 365 that we're going to showcase here today. What does that mean is that there's a lot of different tools at your disposal with Microsoft 365 and with all the different components that Microsoft has to offer. And you might have many different methodologies that you want to have within your organization, whether they're agile, whether they're waterfall. Maybe you just want simple project management. Maybe you just need a place for teams to actually collaborate, because that's what projects are really all about. They're really all about the team interactions. People make the projects happen. They just don't work by the technology that we have. So I'm going to show you some of those in place. And we also have this unlimited managed services. This is our 24/7, 365 help desk on any question that you could possibly think of, not burning up any consulting time or anything like that. Think of it like unlimited data, if this was a cell phone plan. I want to just flash this really quickly. We are introducing to this marketplace our free TIG project bot. Is anyone familiar with the bot, with what bot can do and things like that? Yeah, so I have a couple heads nodding. So what it is, it's an application. We have it available for Microsoft Teams, Skype, Facebook, and we can even give you the free iframe code. You can put this into any SharePoint site or any website, something like that. And it literally is your own project companion. You can ask it any question, and it's going to give you a whole series of possible answers available. And I'm going to show it to you also. And going on to the next slide over here, just want to give everyone a little bit of advance notice over here. On October 26th, we're going to be doing a webinar, Resource Management for Everyone. It's going to really take a look at the engagement component of Project Online that I'm not really going to go too deep into over here. But we have this free tool for people that are subscribed to our managed services, which allows you to hit one easy button, and it's going to level all the resources across all projects. It's a really cool tool. Alex over there in the back is going to be presenting the webinar. So something that you probably have been seeing us hand out flyers and getting everyone to sign up. If you haven't signed up yet, please just go see Jason in the back, and he'll give you something to fill out. Today we're actually kicking something off. This is our Project Con 365 kickoff event, if you want to call it a kickoff event over here. What we're doing is we're going to, from today and then November 9th all the way through December 12th, we're going to different Microsoft offices. We're working together with the Microsoft teams to put on events kind of like this, but on specific topics. And we're asking everyone to give us a registration email address so that we can invite them over to our Teams channel. This presentation, as you could see, this is all from Microsoft Teams. So I'm actually showing you a PowerPoint slide from Microsoft Teams. Microsoft Teams is free for Office 365, and we want to kind of build this, PPM community so that we can, share all the files. I'm going to put the webinar recording on there as well as this recording on there. We're going to have a place to really collaborate with people from all over the country. So please come and sign up for that. So today, let's kind of get into it right now. So a day in the life of a PMO, there's probably a lot of different things that goes on. This is a pretty good picture that I found online, kind of showing that there's a lot of different components that could go into it. But in order for us to really have some sort of structure, let's go ahead and list some of these process assumptions that we're going to do during this demo session. So the first process assumption is that you're going to need to define the strategy of your business. So we need to know which direction our business is going to go into for us to really make sense of, just do these projects even make sense? And how do we choose which projects that we need to do? Number two is, so all this is good, now we need to be able to request a project. So project requests don't just happen, at the office. They could happen when you have a team meeting, maybe, out to dinner. You might have a good idea there. Maybe you have an idea at the water cooler, like they say, down the hall, in a meeting. So we're going to show you how you can go and request a project. Someone then, of course, needs to approve the project. And then we need to work on a project schedule. We need to build a team, and we need to assign the resources to those specific tasks. So we're going to need to do a little bit of resource management. We need to do some high-level, checking to see if people are available or they're not available. And then, of course, team members need to be able to track time against those tasks, but they also might need to track time for something that they're not working on. Maybe, admin time. Maybe they had to go to a couple meetings. Maybe they had to go to the New York City PPM conference, something like that. So we have to be able to have a place that people track those times. And then, of course, every organization has a little bit different, but then at the end of the day, committees or executives need to kind of go over this proposal of all the projects and determine which ones we're going to move forward with and which ones we're not going to move forward with. And we need to kind of have some kind of algorithm and some kind of weighting score to that to kind of show you this. I just want to tell you that everything I'm going to show you in this demo, this is all out of the box, no third-party add-ins at all, okay? There's just some configurations. So again, just kind of staying with our project management 365 theme, just to let you know the technology which is involved in this demo. So we're using Microsoft Teams. This is Microsoft Teams right now. We're going to show you Project Online. We're going to do some reports and dashboards with Power BI. I made a pretty nifty app pretty quickly with PowerApps, which is right here for the project request form. I'm recording this through Skype. We have certain SharePoint sites, and I'm going to show you what those are. We have Word documents and OneDrive for the team collaboration sites. I mean, a lot of the times you're like, yeah, I'm just using Project Online, but we're really using a lot of different technologies at the same time that it's kind of important to think about, well, how can we leverage our existing Office 365 tenants and capability to kind of get a little bit more capabilities in place. So let's go ahead into this demo. This process assumption that I just quickly noted, is this kind of, similar what's going on in your organization? A couple nods? Good. Okay. So I just want to show you, this would be the teams that you would sign up for. So Teams is pretty new to Microsoft, so you can get to this Teams. Here are some of the, HR, Trust IT Group team that we have. We have a team called X-Wing. This is our marketing department, project delivery. But here we're going to talk about, the ProjectCon 365, and you'll see all the files over here that we talk about. And if you go to General, you'll see some of the YouTube videos. You'll have access to the project bot. It'll load up in a second. You can go ahead and type your message in there. But let's go back into our PPM Summit teams. And now we're going to start to define our business strategy. So Project Online calls them business drivers. And I'm just going to flash these really quickly. But let's just imagine, right, you're kind of in this Teams chat, and someone over here says, we need to define our business strategy, right? You kind of start with a conversation. You just don't define the strategy just like that. So you can have something called a business driver library. I'm going to click this page over here, just going to take a second to load. And in this business driver library, as you can see, this is Office 365 Microsoft project, and it has a strategy section right up here. So this is where you would define your key business initiatives, what your organization is looking to do. And let's just take a look at what these are. So the first one is we want to expand into new markets and segments. Again, we're stepping away from projects, and we're just thinking, what does the business need to do? And we also need to improve customer satisfaction score, and we need to improve employee satisfaction, and we need to improve the product quality, et cetera, right? So this could be on an enterprise-wide practice, or you could do this on a department-by-department practice. But, if you go ahead and let's just take a look at expanding into new markets and segments for just a second, it'll show you that there's different ways what you could do to kind of standardize this process so that you know what it is every single time that you go in and you want to take a look at this business driver. So, for example, you give it a name, you give it a description, and then you collectively, as a committee, you would come up with what these project impact statements are. So now you kind of think of it, if you were to create a project and you want this project to improve your market share, I believe that this was expanding into new markets, then you would want to grade this. If it does not grow revenue from any market or segment, you would mark this as none. And I'm going to show you a little bit later how this all makes sense. And then basically, you have these fields, and you figure out what the next stage is. So if it grows revenue from new markets and segments up to 500K, you would put this as low. So you run through this exercise over here, and you come up with your low, moderate, strong, and extreme. For example, grows revenue from new markets and segments more than $3 million. You would mark this project as extreme, that it extremely helps this business driver out. Okay, so just kind of keep that in the back of your head as we're doing this little exercise here. So you do the same thing for each business driver. Okay, so we're going to fast forward in time, and there's also something called pairwise business comparison. So now what you do is you have these different segments of business drivers, and you compare them against each other. So there's the driver prioritization screen. I'll just give this a second to load. And what you do is you basically then compare, you create a prioritization, and you compare every business driver against each other. When you do that, it'll automatically come up with a priority score. So this will help you in understanding your entire portfolio of projects and the way that these business drivers kind of help push that portfolio project. So the way that we did our portfolio drivers, and this could be a whole nother session on how we do pairwise comparisons. Yeah, sure, go ahead. You can tweak them yourself by going into the prioritize drivers screen. I'll just flash this really quickly to kind of see how we came up with them. Exactly. So let's say that expanding into new markets is more important than everything, period. So you can literally click on this button over here, but we can't because this is locked out. But you can literally say it's much more important than improving customer satisfaction score. It's much more important than improving employee satisfaction, which I completely agree with, and more important than improving product quality, right? So you can just you can game it if you want, Exactly. So you could do this on a quarterly basis. You could do this on a yearly basis. I mean, it really all depends on how you decide that you want to define your priorities. Okay? So at the end of the day, when you complete that exercise, which could take some time to get the executive consensus on it, it comes up with a priority score. So just kind of keep that in the back of your head over here. Okay, so we just defined our business drivers. The next step after that is, let's say that, okay, the business drivers are in place, now we have to start to feed this project pipeline with some ideas. So we could do this from Project Online. You see that there's a project request, but again, I'm trying to be fancy over here and do this whole project management 365 deal. So what we have over here is another tab in Microsoft Teams. I'm calling this a project request form. And I built this app pretty quickly using this using a program called PowerApps. And by doing that, as you can see, this is literally a shell of a phone. So you can develop these apps with no code. I don't know code at all. And you can make these apps for the phone. So if you are at a team meeting somewhere else and you want to be able to submit an idea and you wanted to feed a SharePoint list or something along those lines, you can use this PowerApps and go ahead and, let's actually go ahead and create one. So now we're going to, create a new item. So again, we need to request an idea, and who has a great idea for a project that we should do? We want to control all of New York State. Realistic project, like control the United States. Okay, control all New York State. I mean, look, that's IT services and liquor cabinets. We could do it. Okay, well, spell check doesn't work here, but it's okay. After a couple of drinks, I mean, it all looks the same. Project cost, so let's just put in, I don't know, let's just put in $10,000. Expected benefits, going to give us one with a couple zeros. And here's the thing, and now we can start to define which department this is going to fit for. So let's say this is going to be with my favorite sales and marketing department. And description, we want it all, right? And start date, let's go ahead and pick a start date of next Monday. You can hit OK. All right, and so I'm just going to go ahead and click this button, and there you go. Project was just created. So if I scroll down, you can see that it entered our list. OK, so all good. Project is just created. Now we need to go and look at it and build a team and do all those things, right, that we're just talking about. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into our project center. Now, has anyone seen Project Online? I forgot to ask this at the beginning. I just kind of want to know. A couple yeses, couple nos. Yeah? Okay. So for everyone that hasn't seen Project Online yet, the Project Center is like your home page. So I'm getting into the Project Center. And the Project Center gives you a really nifty view, and I'm just going to go and make this in a larger screen right now. So the Project Center is like your like project homepage, if you want to call it that way, right? It gives you a view of all your different projects that you have going on right now. So I know that Project Online may be new. Who here is using Microsoft Project on the desktop application? A lot, right? So each one of these that you see right here, each link is a separate MPP file, if you want to think of it this way. Each one of these is a separate project. So you can already see right off the bat, Project Online gives you this high visibility that you could see all your projects running at the same time without even having to open and close every single different project. You can see what % complete it is, what's the project cost, expected benefits, and you get to define what columns you see up here. This is not, the way that it has to be. Whatever your specific KPIs are what you see. So here you have your Gantt chart. You can put multiple projects in a timeline. You can filter by different project departments. There's a lot of different ways to slice and dice, and I think that the most important thing to mention up here is that whatever information you see over here is not the same information that somebody else from your organization can see. You can set up different security permission models so that people only see the information that they're supposed to see. Okay? So let's go into our ideation hub. So that's where our PowerApps actually sent that whole project to. Let's go to our new ideas. And again, now we're using SharePoint. And let's open up our sales and marketing department. And we're going to scroll down and we're going to see control all of the New York State. And I'm showing you kind of the under the hood way to approve a project. Had this been, probably a real life scenario, whoever is the PMO manager, PMO director, maybe a project manager would get a notification on their phone, email notification saying, hey, someone just requested this. Do we approve it or reject it? You may have some additional steps that go in there. You may need to submit a business case and, a whole bunch of other things. But we're oversimplifying this process. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to create a project. This is my way of approving this project. This is the scenic tour, if you will. And again, I'm showing you the scenic tour because there's a lot of questions about how does SharePoint interact with Project Online. So I'm just showing you this because we had a SharePoint list. Again, I'm just kind of bringing you from the beginning. We had this Power App. We submitted a request that went to a SharePoint list. From that SharePoint list, I'm creating a project using those fields, and I'm mapping those fields to that of Project Online. And it just basically says right here, here's the SharePoint columns, here's the project web app, which is Project Online columns. Again, I'm just showing you what's under the hood. It's kind of, I'm just showing you the engine. And then we also have the enterprise project types. And this is also important to mention too. You may find out that in your organization, you're doing the same type of projects day in and day out. You might have infrastructure projects. You might have software development projects. You may have, move projects, or you're moving an office from one place to another. Something along those lines, right? So you're finding out that you're using the same template every single time. What these enterprise project types allow you to do is literally make a project schedule template along with other standard forms that you want people to fill out, and you can create that automatically with the creation of this project type. So here we're just doing a PMO project, and you're going to see what happens when I create the project. So we're going to go ahead and create the project. Now this takes a couple seconds to go and load the Wi-Fi and everything. Does anyone have any questions as this is loading? Yeah. You can. PowerApps as well. Yes. Yeah. Everything is all integrated out of the box. That's a good question. Yeah. Yeah. So it's when I actually hit the Create Project button, yes, that was from SharePoint. However, if you want to speak about a real-life use case, chances are your team is probably not going to do that. What you can do is you can just trigger, like a workflow, something like that. So let's say you can get an email notification that's saying this project has been requested. And you can define what fields you see in the text of the email. That may be enough to give you the decision approve or reject. You can hit the approve button and not even go and do all these steps that I'm going into. Correct. I'm just basically showing you this demo way that I'm just showing. Yeah, exactly. Any other questions? I think there's one more. Okay, so now we just created the project. Let's go back into our project center. And for the duration of this demo, I'm going to stay in Project Online. I'm not going to go back out to Teams. Well, no, I'm going to go out to Project Teams maybe one more time. So hold on. So let's go and take a look at our sales and marketing department. And we have this right here, control all of New York State IT services project. The project, as you could see, is showing green health because we haven't really done anything. It's all green. It's good. But the ROI is also something else I just want to mention. We can have different types of graphical indicators, if you will, in these columns. Sometimes people want to see just kind of, color indicators on what's going on. So you can set up different calculations within these fields to kind of show either colors, maybe formulas, maybe you need it for NPV calculations down the road, some financial roll-ups or something like that. Could all be done right here. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at Control New York State project. And remember one thing, that I created it as a template. Oh, let me get back out here. So let's see what kind of happens. So Project Online gives you the ability to see where you are in the workflow at any particular stage. Does everyone know what I mean by workflow, by the way? Okay, so a lot of heads, a couple shakes. So what a workflow means is, there are different cycles of the project: initiate, create, plan, that whole thing. And you can get a visual representation where you are of that project phase. And you can also set up what sections need to be completed for this stage. So before you go on to the next stage of the project life cycle, certain things need to get done. Obviously not for this demo, because we want to make it simple. So if you want to get a visual representation of what else is involved, you can always just go down here and see all workflow stages, create, select, execute, manage, close. So let's scroll back up and let's see. So over here on the left-hand navigation side is where you're going to see your project name. And then think of these as little subfolders. So under here you get what we call project detail pages. Don't let this name fool you, project details. That's still a project detail page. I'm just getting into like the technical aspects of this. But this project detail page is a PDP, they call it, project detail page. The schedule is also a project detail page. The strategic impact is also a project detail page. So let's go to the project detail page. We should probably change the name of that. But look, just want to show you that here we have control all of New York State IT services. You have some description with some weird Java code that we can probably get rid of. You also have the start date, the project cost, the expected benefits. So think about it this way. Sometimes when you have somebody fill out a request form, they might have to fill out another form, and they may need to fill out another form, as part of a business justification. Maybe they need to fill out a project charter. Maybe they have all these other things that they need to do. You can create your project request form at the very beginning with all the specific pieces of information that you want to capture, and then have that flow into these project detail pages from the very creation of the project. We want to kind of, I hate to say this, but digitize our organization, like from Frank's meeting, from Frank's speech at the beginning, right? We want to kind of automate all these processes and make it a lot more efficient. So let's go over to our project schedule. And for those that are familiar with the desktop application, this is going to look very, very similar. So as you can see right here, you have your project timeline. As you can see right here, you have your project schedule. You have your beloved Gantt chart. Everything that you can do on the desktop, about 90% of it you can do online. There's a couple things that you can't do online that you can do on the desktop, but for that we have Microsoft Project Professional, which you can work on the desktop and it syncs to the cloud. So you can work offline or you can work on the desktop application and it syncs to Project Online so everyone can see your changes. So as you can notice too, I didn't create the schedule because I created as part of the enterprise project type. Is that what you're about to ask? Yeah. So because I created this PMO project, remember that with the enterprise project types? This is our PMO project, that it has all the right tasks, it has all the right resources, but let's take a look at the resources. So it's just a template, exactly. So we like to say put as much as you can on the template, you can always take things away later. So what we can see right here is that we have generic resources on this template. So we don't know who's available, we don't know who can actually do the work, we just know that we need a legal assistant for this one, we need to review the contract. We need a project manager to kind of review the statement of work. We need an analyst to review the environmental factors, etc. Okay, so we don't know who we don't know exactly who's available, but we know the type of skill set that we need to make this happen. So let's go ahead, let's edit this project. And let's go do some resource management. So up here is called the project ribbon. So we're going to click on the project tab in the ribbon. We're going to build our team. Again, everything I'm showing you is out of the box. It just takes some configuration over here. So here is our resource pool. So 1 second. The resource pool can come from a number of different ways. It can come from your Active Directory. You can also simply upload an Excel document, but probably the best way is to do it through the Active Directory. So, 1 second, I'll just go back. Okay. Go back into build our team. Teams reformatted the way that it looks. Usually, the resources would be on the right-hand side, but it didn't. It put it down here. It's okay. So let's say that we're looking for an analyst. What we could do is click on the analyst name, and if we configure the resource pool correctly, what it's going to do is look at all the resources from your pool, right? So there's a couple hundred people in our organization, and we can hit the match button. See the match right here? I'm going to hit this match button. It's going to look through this entire resource pool and filter out everyone that is not an analyst. Or, we're only looking for analysts. Okay, so let's go take a look at Alex, and let's go take a look at Ben, and let's take a look at Brian. Now, we know that these are analysts, but we don't know who's available or who's not available. So we're going to go ahead and check this capacity planning module. Again, out of the box. And it looks like pop-ups are not allowed in Microsoft Teams. So we can do the capacity planning in there, but for that we go directly to it. So right from Teams, if you hit this button, this allows you to go to the website. So let's just go back in here just so I can show this over. Okay. We'll go back into our project. So I almost kept everything in Teams. That was almost good, right? So we're going to go ahead and do this all over again. We're going to hit the analyst. We're going to hit the match button. So we're checking out Alex, Ben, and Brian. And let's go to our capacity planning. And there you go. There's our pop-up. And boom. It's going to show you the resource utilization. So judging by this over here, it looks like the only resource that is being utilized right now is Alex. As you can see that the top line shows you the capacity for all the resources, 32 hours, right? And then it drops down on the weekends because you can configure your resource pool calendar to show you when the weekends are, to show you what the holidays are, et cetera. So if your holiday drops down to 0. If you're in another part of the world and you use a different calendar, you work probably less hours than we do over here. So that capacity drops as well. Okay, so we can also scroll down a little bit more and see exactly what these guys are working on. So Alex Wilbur over here looks like he's currently assigned to this project of lead generation. Okay, we have the analyst generic role assigned to all these, but you know what? Ben's available. Ben is a good project manager, and I'm going to go, or he's a good analyst, and I'm going to go ahead and select Ben. So we're going to go back. We have Ben selected, and we're just going to hit the replace button. Then everywhere, when I hit the save and close, if this works properly, I really hope it does. Sometimes these demos, things just break. But everywhere where there is an analyst, basically, Ben is going to populate into that spot, and we'll see. I'll give this a second to load. Any questions on any of the, yeah? This is, if I were to publish this project, it will automatically assign that task to Ben. So Ben may not have a choice. But there are other ways to do this through engagements, and that's what the webinar is going to be about on the 26th, where you can kind of soft propose it, or you can hard book it too. And that'll give kind of like the resource manager some options. Alex, does this calendar show whether or not someone is busy in Exchange, if they're assigned to a task, for example? No. So it doesn't. This calendar doesn't specifically sync to that of Exchange. It's got its own internal calendar. And theoretically, if someone's on a project, they're not technically, I mean, they're busy, but you can still message them, you know? Yeah. And most people don't really work the full time that they're allotted to anyway. So anyway, here's the project schedule, and as you can see, Ben is all over the place now. Everywhere where there is an analyst, Ben is at. Okay? And okay, so that's that. What I'm also going to do is, we always got to remember one thing. We need to always publish our project. So when you publish a project, this is just saving it, just saves your progress, basically. When you publish the project, it writes all the information to the server, so now it becomes available for everyone else to see. It assigns Ben his tasks. It's going to update the schedules. All that stuff happens. Okay? We're going to look at, I think I have a couple more minutes over here, the strategic impact. So the strategic impact is really important, because this ties into the business drivers that we created at the very beginning. Remember, expanding into new markets and some of those others. So here is where you can go on a project-by-project basis and grade how does this control over the New York State IT services and liquor cabinets, apologize for spelling, how does that actually, help or hurt or do nothing to expanding into new markets and segments. So this is where you really get the true core of projects and portfolio management, where project management is execution of the projects, while portfolio management is kind of taking a look at, from a holistic view, do the projects align strategically with the overall business objectives, right? So you can grade these on a low, moderate, strong, extreme, etc. Okay? Let's go to the project site. This is always a popular one. Again, continuing with our Project Management 365 theme. Now we're looking at a collaboration site. I know that the teams was collaboration, but we look for all the areas to collaborate. This is our SharePoint collaboration team site, where you can have certain milestones that are going on, rotating banners of team tasks and timelines, but you can also have a discussion board. You can also document your issues and risks, all on here. And all these issues and risks, they all come up and they aggregate up to the top level so that you can report across the entire enterprise or organization or department, whichever way you want to do it. But when we go to business documents, this uses OneDrive so that your team could work together if there's a business case. So you can use Word Online, and everyone can collaborate on whatever the business case is, and it automatically saves. So you go ahead, type whatever you want. You're done with it. You just back out. Same thing with PowerPoint. Same thing with Word. What do we have here? Some more Word, PowerPoint documents. But you guys basically get the gist, right? Any of these Microsoft technologies can all work together and kind of have a bigger play. So now we got all that, and let's talk about one last option. I think we're running out of time in about 5 minutes. We got to go drink. Let's go to our, what was that? Let's go back to project details. So now let's go back to our, let's go back one more. Go back to our project center. And let's go to our portfolio analysis. So let's just do a little bit of a recap of everything that we just talked about. We just basically created our business drivers, created the overall strategy of the business, right? We requested a project. Doesn't matter if the request came formally or informally, it had a channel to go through, which kind of standardized whatever field that you're looking for. We created the project, we basically approved it. Then we created a project and, took a look at the tasks, make sure that the tasks are right, assigned the resources to the tasks, made sure that the resources were available, that they weren't overbooked, underbooked. Perfect resource management was just done right here. And now what we need to do is kind of, let's review the projects in our portfolio to see if we even need to do them or not. Do we have enough money to do them? Do we have enough people to do them? So out of the box comes this portfolio analysis module. So we're going to play with this scenario. So I pre-made this, so I'm sorry, but the New York State controlling project didn't make the final cut. But we did select these 10, so good news, we could still do work, right? So what we're looking at over here is these 10 projects. My CIO wants to know which of these projects should we do with the budget that he's about to tell me. But we just went through the entire driver prioritization. We know exactly what the portfolio needs to look like, and we basically did all the pre-planning. We figured out the project cost, and I'm coming into that. I'm like, all right, look at this. I got this. I could do 100% of your strategic portfolio if we go through with these 10 projects. Right, so these 10 projects equal 100% of the strategic value that you're looking for as per the pairwise comparison stuff that we were doing before. But I'm going to need $879,000. And I'm sure that every CIO is going to say, I'm not going to give you all that money. But what I could do is, you know what, let me give you $500,000. What can you do with that? So I'm going to say, you know what, good thing I have this Microsoft PPM tool. And I'm going to just, put in this new budget constraint, a project cost. Let's go ahead and recalculate this. What it's going to do now is going to take a look at what is the most strategically valued project at the lowest cost, right? Because we always want to do more with less. It's always the main thing. So it's basically telling you for $500K, Mr. CIO, no problem, but I can only do these 7 projects that are going to give you 78.9% of your strategic value. Are you okay with that? And they're going to look into it and they're going to say, okay, well, what got unselected? Merger and acquisition, audit tracking, and payroll cloud migration. You know what? I actually get a bonus if I get this payroll cloud migration going. So can you make this fit? And of course, we could do anything, right? So, or let's kind of keep it politically correct. This could be a government regulatory project, which has to happen whether you like it or not, right? Or it could be a pet project or whatever, but it's okay. So we'll go ahead and we could force in certain projects, and we could say why we're forcing it in. So let's go ahead and force this project in, and let's say this is our executive priority. So now we're going to recalculate this, and as you can imagine, if we're putting this project in, which is giving us 0.68%, not even 1%, it's giving us 0.68%, and it's costing $30,000, we're going to move in, but obviously something's got to go. So you can do these different types of scenarios, and you can do these what-if scenarios. You can even actually hit the commit button right here, which will trigger all these projects that you selected to go to the next stage of your workflow or your next project phase. So wherever you decide to plug this exercise in, again, this is a day in the life. This can happen anywhere at any given point in your life cycle. You could just plug this right in, push this commit button, and now you actually have a good idea as to why you're moving forward with these projects and what's the value of these projects going forward. So one last thing that I just wanted to mention. So let's say all these projects are in flight. Oh, yeah, sure. Yes. Okay, so I think yes. So there are 2 constraints, right? There are cost constraints and budget constraints. You have all the money in the world, but you don't have enough people, or you have all the people in the world, but not enough money. Try to find a healthy balance. So we're going to analyze this exact 10 projects on resources. Let's go see how that looks like. Yeah. You can. You can. If there's enough time after this, then I'll go in there and I'll show you. But you would basically, you see right over here where you have your constraint types. You go enter in the ROI. So you can't do ROI by itself. You have to do the budget as the main constraint and then ROI. But ultimately, yes. So here we go. We have two ways that we could approach this. So given our resource pool, this is telling us with our 10 selected projects, we can only move forward with these 7. We cannot move forward with these 3. But what are the two ways that we can get around this? We can either do one of two things. Anyone know what one? Well, you can't just force it because you don't have the people for it. So forcing in this situation doesn't work, but you can. Yes. So you can move a project either forward or back, right? You can move a project out, then that frees up the resources, or you can just do what's easy and just hire more people. Let's say that these projects need to happen. But now, here's the trick. I like to play this game, right? How many people do we need to hire in order to do all 10 of these projects? Winner gets a prize. What's the prize? Of course, the sales guy would ask what the prize is before asking it. Come on, just any number. None. Well, we're at none right now. How about 20? You think if we hire 20, we can probably get this done? Well, let's go put that in. Let's just put in 20. So there's a report called a hired resource report. If your resource pool is configured in such a way that you can have your skill sets configured, the cost of your resources configured, etc., you can hit this recalculate button, enter how many resources you want to hire, and look what happens. It's going to now say, you know what? If you hire 20 people, you can actually get all these projects done. You don't have to move any projects out. They could all start when they're supposed to start, just as we planned it. There's kind of these hard constraints that we just can't get around. But hold on a second. Is 20 too much? Like, am I just over-hiring? So what you could do is pull down this hired resource report. Again, this all comes out of the box. And what this gives you is, I only needed 2. I only needed to hire 2 people, 1 project manager for this particular project called the Operations Process Consultation, which starts on this date, ends on this date. It's going to cost this amount because we know the specific task that this resource has to be. And, because we're giving them a rate of $9.29 an hour. I didn't set this up, but we got some good rates. That's all I got to say. So project manager 2, same thing. So you can actually, if these rates are configured the right way, you can work with your HR team, and you can now have kind of a hiring plan on who you need to hire, when they need to leave, X, Y, and Z. Cool? So one last thing I wanted to show you too is, so the health check report. So also from Teams, you can get this health check report. Now again, we provide this health check report free at no additional cost with anyone enrolled in our managed services. It's a series of 9 different, I think now we have 12. This is not the most updated. So I'm just going to say between 9 and 12 Power BI reports that are already done for you. All you need to do is plug them into your environment. The first report gives you your portfolio summary report. So again, you don't need to actually go into Project Online to see the information. Power BI works, it's mobile ready, works on phones, iPhones, Android, tablets, doesn't matter. And you can go ahead and see all the projects in your portfolio, project name, percent to complete, cost variance. You can even drill down. So let's go ahead and take a look at how our buddy Alex is doing. You can click on Alex, and there you go, and you can see what projects Alex is working on. If you want to see, by project type, let's go take a look at our software development projects. Easily click, filter everything down. Again, these are all free with enrollment into our managed services. You can see last published reports. So what were the most recent projects that just currently published to our server? You can see that right here, as well as some information. Make this a little bit bigger. You can also see our health check report, which gives you an idea of the health of every project. So you can take a look at what the project name is, who's the owner, what project type it is, what department it belongs to, what tasks have a late start, what tasks have generic resources, which tasks have no effort, assignments and summary tests. You get to see where your lazy project managers are, basically, over here. The next one is the resource utilization report, so you could see without having to, go into Project Online and building these reports yourself. This is all the resource utilization report. You can drive in by project as well, and by resource. Resource pool report, you can take a look at your entire resource pool, see who's available. Timesheet report, demo environment, no one's filling out time. If this was your organization and your culture decides that they want to fill out time, you'd be able to see the timesheet report right on here. Same thing, the resource utilization report for the last 30 and the next 90 days, kind of a little forecasting tool. Project timeline, giving you an idea on almost like showing you the tasks that are going on at project level. Of course, a project status report as well. So it'll show you the link, the project description, task name, issues, risks, etc. So, yeah. Trust IT group, yes. Yeah. Let's go back to this Teams, and I believe that would be it. Are there any other questions that you guys have? No? Okay. Just some next steps over here is, if anybody wants to take advantage of this PPM maturity assessment, I know that we have some folks over here that are taking advantage of it. If you're looking for it, we'd be more than happy to get together, take a look at. This is kind of similar to the report or the assessment that we did with Motor. Motors was it was like a week-long engagement. This, what I'm talking about, is basically a 2-hour time investment on your side and on our side. We'll take a look at 14 different PPM capabilities. We'll take a look at what the current state of your PMO maturity is. We'll help make some recommendations for some solution enhancements going forward. And then we'll grade your maturity assessment, give that back to you guys so, you could take it back to your leadership team. Maybe make the next step, maybe see where you are currently. We'll take that, baseline that off of some of the current clients that we have right now. We also have a configuration wizard. So the configuration wizard is our kind of quick start with Project Online, if you will. So we have this 5-day deployment with Project Online, which gets an organizations up and running in 5 days, giving them kind of like a really good basis on Project Online with a lot of configurations on custom fields, project level fields, resource level fields. If you guys are interested, you let me know, and we'll definitely send you some information on that. Of course, if you want all the bells and whistles, we can help out with that. And the managed services, we have a lot of ways to kind of help out and grow some adoption over time. There's assessments and quarterly trainings and Power BI reports, so feel free to do that. And I believe that's the very last slide. If you haven't signed up for this Teams channel, I'm going to keep all the material on here, and every presentation we're going to do from now until the end of December. We're going to add more people onto this Teams channel. So please, if you haven't, see Jason. He can get your email address, and we'll send you the link right there. See you guys on the rooftop. Thank you.